Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Dr. Jasmol Sardana. She is board certified in both internal medicine and lifestyle medicine, and she sees patients both in person and virtually at the Barnard Medical Center in Washington, D.C. Now, before I introduce her, I just want to explain to you why I'm wearing chili pepper earrings today. If you watch my show regularly and you're not subscribed, you may not know that I also do a recorded show that happens every Wednesday called Weight Loss Wednesday. I have over 250 episodes where I make recipes from all four of my books. And today I have a very special one because I just got back from teaching cooking at Rancho La Puerta in Mexico. And I made a 3 chili salsa that they have there that is off the hook. And this also masked my shirt, which is why. So please consider subscribing so you get those recipes delivered to your inbox. And please welcome Dr. Jasmol Sardana. It's very nice to meet you.
Chef AJ, I want those earrings. So after this,
no, seriously, if you want them, I'll send them because I'm going to tell you the truth. One of the experts, there's lots of speakers at this spa that I go to, and he's like, he's called the world's most organized man in America. And I'm working on him and decluttering. And if you really mean that sincerely, I'm going to mail them to you because I'm 61 years old. I have everything I need. I mean, health is really all I need. So, I literally will give you not the shirt off my back because this is
I believe you. I believe you. No, please don't send them. I love them. I will find them, but it's chilies. I'm Indian. It just works.
I got them at a Veg Fest. That's the only thing I can tell you is I'm almost sure I got them at the San Francisco Veg Fest because I have carrots. But anyway, we'll see about not.
Just love them. Love them.
Well, thank you so much. So you have a very interesting title that you chose for today's broadcast. But even before we get into that, I just would like myself and the viewers to know a little bit more about you and your story and your journey to not only being a plant-based advocate and eater, but a lifestyle medicine doctor at the Barnard Medical Center.
Yes. First of all, Chef AJ, I really just want to thank you so much for inviting me on your show. It's an incredible honor to be here and to be able to speak to your wonderful listeners. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm an internal medicine primary care physician, and I am board certified in lifestyle medicine, but I didn't always know or I didn't even know what lifestyle medicine was when I, was in medical school and went through internal medicine training. So just to give you a little bit of why I chose this field, it really came from I was inspired by my father. My father was a first generation immigrant, Indian who came to America to really kind of live out the American dream. Came here and was just blown away by the access to all this amazing food that we had here that he didn't have growing up in India, right? There was a McDonald's at every corner. There was fast food. There was 7-Elevens and all these, there was meat everywhere, where in India, meat was not that accessible to him. And so being here, it felt like he had arrived. And I think he definitely overdid it and indulged. And that's kind of what my example was. Seeing him was, just being very indulgent in his food. And unfortunately, that caught up with him very quickly. He was diagnosed with diabetes in his 40s. I remember he had lost a lot of weight and looked not like my dad any longer and started on insulin. Unfortunately, didn't, have the benefit of hearing about lifestyle medicine because that wasn't, as in the forefront as it is now currently. Developed heart disease very early, unfortunately had his first heart attack when he was in his early 50s, and a few years later ended up passing away. So in that time frame, I feel like my journey to lifestyle medicine really aligned with his medical kind of struggles. So when I knew as soon as I, knew that my dad was ill, I was in my first year of college when he had his first heart attack. And I knew right then, I want to go into medicine and I want to be a cardiologist. And so I went and decided that's what I wanted to do. And once I started undergrad and learned more about biology and how cardiovascular disease is linked to diabetes, I thought, okay, I need to go to medical school to become an endocrinologist. And so I went to medical school and with this idea that I wanted to be an endocrinologist because I wanted to, stop diabetes in its tracks. And when I was in medical school, I realized that diabetes did have, yes, a genetic factor to it, sure, but that was the first time I heard there might be some lifestyle factors, dietary factors with relation to diabetes, and that it could potentially be prevented. And so from then, in medical school, I thought, okay, well, I want to be a primary care doctor. And so my journey kind of went more and more upstream as I started to understand the link between these conditions. And then once I graduated from residency is when I learned about lifestyle. Around that time is when I learned about lifestyle medicine. And, just the concept of really treating the root cause of chronic disease, where chronic disease doesn't even have the opportunity to develop, was really powerful to hear. And so that's when I knew I've reached it. I reached the point where I really needed to be. I think I had to go from, downstream, seeing that my dad go through his cardiac issues, learning about diabetes, the role of primary care, and lifestyle medicine. And so that's really what led me to lifestyle medicine. I got involved with the wonderful American College of Lifestyle Medicine and was really plugged into my tribe and learned about plant-based nutrition. I've been plant-based for over 4 years now since learning that. And it has not only changed, it has definitely changed my patients' lives and, my et cetera, but it's changed my life first. And I think that's been the biggest gift of lifestyle medicine for me, is that it's actually changed my life. I was overweight. I had pre-diabetes. I had high cholesterol. And after going plant, that was reversed. And so I've been really thankful and blessed to learn about lifestyle medicine and then pass on that message to my patients. I was, so moved by it that I knew that I wanted to get board certified. So I was in that inaugural first cohort of physicians who have become board certified in lifestyle medicine back in 2017.
That's so cool. Is lifestyle medicine a fairly new?
It is. I would say it's been around for some time, but the certification just happened in 2017. Our founding kind of fathers of lifestyle medicine have been doing this for some time, and but the board certification was fairly recent.
It's interesting how many doctors I interview say that it was because of a family member's illness, often even more so than their own, that they decided to go into medicine. And that's often a reason people change their diet, is they don't want the same fate for themselves.
Absolutely. And I have children of my own now. I have 3 young kids, and I know that the example that I want to set for them is one that I didn't have growing up. And so it's been absolutely that. I want to be a really good example for my kids. And, I carry some of the genetic predisposition to some of these disorders, but lifestyle medicine has proven and shown us that even if that is something that you're carrying, that it doesn't have to bloom. Right. It really depends on the soil and the environment that you're creating. And so my hope, that I pass on to my children is learning how to create the environment, the habits, to be able to create an environment that does not support the growth of chronic disease.
How old are your children, and are they plant-based? Is your whole family plant-based?
Yes. So I would say they're plant-based in varying degrees. So my spouse, my husband, is amazing, is wonderful. And so at home, we have a rule. Our house is fully plant-based. There's no animal products in our home. However, my husband makes his own choices when he's outside of the home, and he's an adult, he's allowed to. And my children similarly are plant-based as well. We're a plant-based family, and it's been so incredibly wonderful that this journey has been one in which I started, but not because I've prodded or nagged, but just by sheer kind of example and excitement for what it's done for my life. My children have seen that and is supportive of it and want the same. And same and similarly for my husband. So yes, we are a plant-based family.
That's so funny that you say he's an adult, he's allowed to make his own decisions. How old are your kids, and how open are they to this?
Yeah, so my oldest is 9. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And it's so wonderful now that and I speak to each of them kind of depending on their varying degree of, how much they understand. But my 9-year-old is really just so excited now that I can talk to him a bit more about some of the maybe the not so pretty aspects of eating meat. Right. He's old enough where I can share some of those things with him. And he's really moved by that and has really taken heart and has really been on board and encourages his brother and sister and dad, to kind of stay the course. But there's not really a lot of convincing that has to happen. We do it as a family. We support each other, and it's been wonderful.
your kids have jobs or cars or money to go buy stuff. So I guess they kind of have to eat what you make them.
That's right. But they help me, Chef AJ. So they, that's one of the tips that I share with my patients and others who I speak to about, transitioning into a plant-based family, is to get your kids involved at every single stage of the process. And they not only learn, but they get excited about it. And they have a better chance of actually trying and enjoying the foods. Because we're Indian, though, I think a lot of our foods that we grew up with and already had introduced and we're eating at home were already plant-based. We just had to swap out maybe some of the ghee or the yogurt, cut back on the oil, and it wasn't that big of a leap for a lot of the food that we eat, which is good.
That makes a difference. I know I was mentioning to you before we came on that I spent a week interviewing Indian doctors who are lifestyle medicine doctors in the United States. And now I'm doing the same thing with ones in India. And so many of them were raised vegetarian. That's right. And so it was really about getting rid of the dairy, which for some of them was actually more difficult than the meat, if they were even eating meat.
Absolutely. Dairy is kind of ubiquitous in Indian cuisine. It's kind of everywhere, and it doesn't necessarily need to be there. It's kind of like that extra layer of cream or drizzle, and starting with ghee instead of oil. It's just a much more rich choice to make. And there's lots of reasons, I think, why that happens. There's a cultural reason why ghee is used. There's, religious reasons why some of these products are used as well. So that's why I understand that it could be difficult to remove those things, but it's possible.
It absolutely is. I noticed that you're a DO, and I'd love to know a little bit more about that, because oftentimes we'll have people ask on the show, what's the difference between a functional medicine doctor and a naturopathic doctor and an Ayurvedic doctor? And I might have had DOs on. I think actually, is it possible Scott Stoll might be a DO instead of an MD? I'm not sure, but I'd like to know a little bit more about what that is, because I have found that when I go to a doctor, you don't always see the letters or get to choose, but any DO I've seen, they've been wonderful. It's almost like, I don't want to say they have more knowledge, but they seem to have maybe some more tricks in their bag than just medication is what I mean.
Oh yeah, Chef AJ, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. In the United States, there are two types of physicians that are recognized by the Board of Medicine, I guess. They're MDs, which are considered allopathic physicians, and DOs, who are osteopathic physicians. And really the only difference, I've taken the exact same, I took the MCAT, I took all of the same, there's different board exams for osteopathic physicians and allopathic physicians, but they're equivalent. I happen to actually take all of the boards just because I was already preparing for my osteopathic board. So I took my allopathic boards as well. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that everyone do that. But so I took my USMLEs and my COMLEXs. And really the only difference is that when you are in osteopathic medical school versus allopathic medical school, you have additional training in something called osteopathic manipulation or manipulative therapy. And the philosophy that underlies osteopathic medicine is one in which I think allopathic medicine would also agree, at least now, modern allopathic medicine would also agree that they're leaning towards becoming more and more holistic and seeing the whole patient. However, osteopathic medicine has been doing that. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to osteopathic medicine, coming from a background where we didn't take Tylenol and ibuprofen, and Robitussin for a cold. I grew up drinking, tea with ginger and black pepper and turmeric and all sorts of spices in it to help, clear up my colds and my symptoms. And so I kind of came from a background that was a bit more open to things that weren't just traditional pharmaceutical options to treat your ailments. And so osteopathic medicine's philosophy aligns with that really well. And that, there are other options besides just surgery or pills to be able to manage some of your ailments. And so osteopathic manipulative therapy is where you can actually you can put your hands on a patient, on their ribs, on their spine, on their arms, on their legs, and you can tell if there's a misalignment, if there's a dysfunction. And the philosophy or the theory behind it is that if there's a dysfunction in your internal organs, that the supporting structures of that organ will also, capture and manifest some of that dysfunction and misalignment, which you can then feel with your hands. And so having that extra training in that theory, in that philosophy, in that practice is what separates osteopathic physicians from allopathic physicians. And you were absolutely right in that when I do see my patients, so osteopathic physicians in practice, some of them still will offer osteopathic manipulative therapies. I haven't kept up with my OMT training. However, the philosophy is one that I still carry with me in that, there are other ways to treat ailments besides just surgery and pills, which is, again, another reason why lifestyle medicine, I was so attracted to that because there was just another tool that I could share with my patients to say, hey, listen, you don't necessarily need the medication right this second. Let's try these lifestyle changes. Let's talk about plant-based nutrition. Let's talk about exercise. Let's talk about stress management and sleep. So that is a long answer to your question, but that's the difference between a DO and an MD.
When you go to become a doctor of osteopathy, do you still have to pick a specialty like gynecology, dermatology, that kind of thing?
Yeah, you totally can. I chose to complete my training in internal medicine, but osteopathic physicians, similar to any of the our allopathic counterparts, are gynecologists, are surgeons, are orthopedic surgeons, are ophthalmologists. We're kind of in every single specialty in every single field. I do think that osteopaths do tend to, there are more of us in family medicine and primary care and kind of the primary care specialties, but there are DOs in every specialty.
Nice. How did you get involved with the Barnard Medical Center?
Oh my gosh. So wonderful. So Dr. Jim Loomis, who is our medical director at BMC, is someone who I learned about through the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And I live in Maryland. And once I learned about lifestyle medicine, I start, furiously Googling lifestyle medicine clinics, kind of a bit naively thinking that there were just lifestyle medicine clinics, but there weren't any. And I started Googling, well, what about DC? And then the Barnard Medical Center popped, and I had no idea that it was that close to me. And so I reached out to Barnard Medical Center, and, we were just well aligned because of the work that I do in lifestyle medicine, becoming board certified, being plant-based. I think it was just an amazing fit. And so I've been working there for about 2 years now. We do telehealth for any of your listeners who are interested. We do telehealth consultations for lifestyle medicine, and our physicians are board certified in several different states. I myself am board certified in Maryland, DC, Virginia, New York, Illinois, Georgia, New York. I might be missing one there, but we're, kind of expanding our telehealth platform because we know that this message, one of the barriers to getting the message of plant-based nutrition out is just access. And so one of the things that we're doing is just, becoming licensed in different states to be able to provide that.
That is so cool. Does the Barnard Medical Center have just about every state covered for those that want to do virtual medicine?
So you could go to our website to get the most up to date. We're continually kind of trying to add more states to that. It's a tedious process. It's a long process. And so although we attempt it, there's lots of other organizations that kind of take time to do that. So it does take some time, but we are not yet in all of the states, but California for sure. I know our nurse practitioner is board certified in Maine, but I would refer all of the listeners to barnardmedical.org. And you could look on that website to tell you what the most up-to-date, all the states that we're board certified in.
Nice. Does Dr. Barnard
or licensed in, sorry.
Does Dr. Barnard actually do consults himself?
He doesn't do consults, no.
Darn, that would be fun. Anyway, sure all you guys are great. This is a great question that was posted in the live chat by Monarch. When one is looking for a lifestyle medicine doctor, what are some good questions to ask?
Oh, wonderful. So when you're looking for a lifestyle, so first off, there are a couple of websites that you can go to find a plant-based physician. I think plantbaseddocs.org. I'm sorry, I don't know if that's the exact.
I think that's it.
But I think that's it. So you can go there and just look for plant-based doctors. And I think there is a designation there to to note if that patient or if that person is a lifestyle medicine doctor. So once you find someone who's a lifestyle medicine doctor, you're going to be aligned. If you're looking for a lifestyle medicine doctor, once you meet with me, then I know that if you let your doctor know that you have been looking for a lifestyle medicine doctor, and it wasn't just that you happen to, be in this appointment with the doctor because the insurance company picked somebody, but you were actively looking for that person. Because that tells me, when my patients tell me I was actively looking for a plant-based doctor, that tells me that you already understand and have some insight into this. So that's great. The questions to ask your doctor are if they're board certified. There might be doctors who are interested in lifestyle medicine, but may not be board certified. And I think that's an important designation because there is a lot of work and study that goes into becoming board certified. And I think it sends a really clear message to my patients that I've put in the work, the time, and the effort because I really believe in this. And I walk the walk, I talk the talk, and I'm invested in lifestyle medicine. And so looking for someone who is board certified, and I would say, as a lifestyle medicine physician, everyone is plant-based. Asking that question specifically, just their stance and their approach on managing chronic disease. Do you use medications? When do you use medications? Is it the first option or is it not? Most likely, I would say that most lifestyle medicine physicians would say, no, I don't offer medications right away unless it's a very extreme, unusual case, depending on the patient and depending on the situation. And the other thing I would probably ask is if your doctor does goal setting. That's something that's a big part of my practice. One of the barriers that come with practicing lifestyle medicine is that's wonderful. We have the knowledge and maybe our patients have some insight, have done some research on their own and we're meeting together. But how do you take this wonderful knowledge and then apply that knowledge? So that's where a lot of my passion lies as well, is in behavior change and action planning, goal setting with my patients. And I'm trained in advanced motivational interviewing, which we can talk about a little bit too, Chef AJ, if you'd like. But those, just asking your doctor what if they're able to help you set goals is such a huge part of lifestyle medicine, because you can know the information, but in order to apply it to your personal situation, have a physician to be able to guide you in that process, I think is really, really transformational and powerful. So that would be another question to ask.
You mentioned you heard about a lot of this from Dr. Jim Loomis, and I want to tell you a funny story because he's finally going to be on the show in September. So a long time ago, I had Karen Dugan on, St. Louis veggie girl, and she said, she referred Dr. Loomis to be on the show, and I didn't have his email, so she introduced us by email. He never responded. I kept saying, can you ask him to respond? I mean, we're talking months. He's
a busy guy.
No, I get it, but I want to tell you the story, not to shame him, but to tell you something very funny that happened. So Karen's going to be on the show soon, and I had to, I had to contact her through text and whatever, and I was just a little disappointed because that he would just not respond to me for so many months, even though she would said to both of us, hey, please respond to her. At least just respond, say not interested. So guess what? So I'm texting with her, and who walks into her establishment but him? So she puts me on FaceTime and I'm like, hey, how you doing? He is so right then we booked actually not just one day. He's coming on. He's going to do an Iron Chef against her in September, and he's coming on. But I don't mean to shame him.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was just so funny that that's how it transpired.
That's how it ended up.
If you're somebody not getting back to me, beware, because I will.
I love your persistence, Chef AJ. That's a good friend.
The longest it took was 10 years to get somebody interviewed. That was Michael Moss. And by the time I did it, I was so nervous. I barely enjoyed the interview. So anyway, it just seems that lifestyle medicine and internal medicine interact so beautifully together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Internal medicine is vast, right? So as an internal medicine physician, I'm someone who is learning about all the different types of disease processes in the different kind of parts of your body. And, from your kidneys to your liver, you learn about all of that, which is incredibly fascinating. And to have that background, and I practice only on adults. That's what internalists do. I'm not a pediatrician or a family medicine physician. I only, work with adults. And then having this layer of lifestyle medicine has been It's kind of like, when you're looking at a 3D book or a 3D movie and you look at it without your 3D glasses, it looks like it's kind of cool. It's great. Like, you understand it, but it's not super clear. And you put on those glasses, and lifestyle medicine, I would say, is kind of like putting on those 3D glasses when you're watching the 3D movie, and all of a sudden it all makes sense. It looks so much clearer. And so being able to practice internal medicine through the lens of lifestyle medicine in order to treat, prevent, manage chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, overweight, obesity has given me a brand new perspective on medicine. So it's been incredibly wonderful, a wonderful addition to have.
That's great. So I want to talk a little bit about the HEAL initiative at ACLM, and maybe just say what ACLM is in case people aren't familiar.
Absolutely. I would love to. I'm so incredibly proud of Dr. Marcia Gale and Dr. Teresa Stone, who are the co-chairs this year. So the ACLM is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. That is the professional organization, the body that represents all lifestyle medicine practitioners, including physicians, and partners with the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine to help practitioners become board certified in lifestyle medicine. So we do a lot of work at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine in order to spread the message of lifestyle medicine. Now, the other barrier to sharing lifestyle medicine with everyone is that, it is undeniable that there are certain communities, there are certain populations that just don't have access to this knowledge. And even if they did have access to this knowledge due to their social circumstances, to their social determinants of health, where they live, work, and play, they have extra barriers in place. And so at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, Dr. Janani Krishnaswamy was the first person to describe and apply this phenomena, or I wouldn't call it a phenomenon, a theory called community engaged lifestyle medicine. And what community engaged lifestyle medicine is, it takes lifestyle medicine and it helps through an evidence-based framework to apply lifestyle medicine into these communities that are more disadvantaged, who may not have access. And there's wonderful papers that Dr. Janani has written. And so at one of the meetings at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, I heard Dr. Janani Krishnaswamy speak, and it just made so much sense to me. Yes, I'm a lifestyle medicine physician, but it doesn't make sense to only practice lifestyle medicine so that a niche group is hearing, or even just the majority here that, hears this message. I think it's important to make sure that the message of lifestyle medicine, plant-based nutrition is, shared with everyone. And when you look at chronic disease, right? So lifestyle medicine is the practice of, treating chronic disease at the root cause. Now, if you look at the populations, if you look at chronic disease and the populations that they affect, you see that there are specific populations, African-American populations, Latin American populations, that are disproportionately affected by chronic disease. So it only made sense to me that lifestyle medicine practitioners who are interested, who are passionate about treating disease at the root cause, they're also speaking to those communities in which chronic disease is disproportionate. Is found disproportionately. And so to that end, I worked with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Susan Benegas, who is the executive director, is phenomenal. Dr. George Guthrie was the president of ACLM that year. And I approached both of them, and I, had a proposal to say, we need a new member interest group at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine that is really geared towards taking lifestyle medicine and applying it within the community setting and outreach programs. And these communities that may not, have access and the ability to hear this message, this all important message. And started the member interest group, founded it, chaired it for the last couple of years. We offered workshops so that the members of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine could understand what community engaged lifestyle medicine is. And after 2 years as chair, I passed the baton to Dr. Marcia Gale and Dr. Teresa Stone, who then blended and transformed the community engaged lifestyle medicine member interest group into the much larger and now just wonderful HEAL initiative. And it has been so interesting to see this growth because of the changes and, that we've seen just kind of in the world play out for us. I think it has really, and where the atrocities that we're seeing on, screen. We're seeing racism. We're seeing all of these things kind of play out live. It's been really beautiful to see the growth and the kind of interest and the passion that has, the fire that's been lit, and how that's helped to grow this HEAL initiative at ACLM. And so, ACLM has been so incredibly supportive of this initiative. There's a scholarship that physicians, providers who are interested in becoming board certified, get board certified so that they can take lifestyle medicine into the communities that they represent or serve. And there are just wonderful projects that are coming out of the HEAL initiative at ACLM. And I'm just so incredibly honored to have been a really small part of that.
Wow. And if you don't mind answering, Sharon wanted to know, not your exact home address, but where in Maryland you live, because she has a meetup group in Columbia.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I actually live very close to Columbia, not very far at all. So if I'm not sure how she could get that information to me, but maybe what I can do is even Google that. If there's a name of that meetup group,
It's called Eat Well. Sharon, I know you're watching. I believe it's called the Eat Well, Stay Well meetup group. And there's a few lifestyle and plant-based physicians there, like Dr. Dana Simpler, who's been on the show, and a few others.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What a small world. I love that. Thank you so much.
And then maybe you could even speak at it once they meet in person again. You could maybe speak at that. They have wonderful. I think she gets like over 100 people at them.
Wow. Yes. Thank you.
Of course. And, you mentioned about maybe having healthcare practitioners talk about, nutrition, especially people with chronic diseases and where health disparities are concerned. But shouldn't they just talk about nutrition to everybody too?
Yes, absolutely. The other barrier that I feel passionate about addressing and lowering are the barriers that providers in general have, whether you're lifestyle medicine board certified or not, is just talking to your patients about their nutrition. We know there's just mounds of data and research to show that, and they're, like the most important organizations, the American College of Cardiology, the American Medical Association, ACGME, which is kind of the ruling governing body that determines the standards for all of the training of medical students and residents. What they have come up with and have stated is that, there are guidelines now in place that say that diet is fundamental to good health. There's a recent publication from JAMA that said that diet is now the #1 modifiable risk factor for mortality. And that is incredibly powerful to me. And so if that statement has come out of the Journal of the American Medical Association, that tells me that what we also need to have is our efforts to be able to encourage our providers, all of our healthcare providers, to start having this discussion. Now, healthcare providers will say, well, you know what, there's a lot of barriers that I face when it comes to even thinking about talking to my patients about nutrition. Time is #1. Dr. Sardana, how do you expect me to talk to my patients about nutrition when I barely have 15 minutes to, go over their concerns? How's that possible? They're concerned about whether or not your patients will listen to them. I'll say when it comes to time management, there are certain techniques that I talk about, I present on, something called brief action planning, where you can have a 5-minute conversation with a patient and have a goal and a follow-up done in 5 minutes through brief action planning, 3 steps of brief action planning. There is the technique of motivational interviewing, which I've talked about.
Yeah.
That I did. So motivational interviewing is just a different style of speaking to your patients. It's not really that traditional model of, hey, I'm the expert and you don't know anything and you're just going to do everything that I tell you to do. And the patients say, okay, sure. Motivational interviewing kind of shifts that imbalance. And through the way that you speak to a patient, when you're sitting with a patient, the spirit of MI is really in one in which there's a partnership, there's collaboration. And so when I speak to my patients, it's really about I think of it as two experts meeting. I'm the expert in plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine and internal medicine, but you are the expert as the patient of your health, of where you're from, what your challenges are. So when I sit with my patients, and that's what I've learned through motivational interviewing, is that when I sit with my patients, there's two experts meeting and it's a partnership, and we're going to come up with a plan together about how you can reach your health goals. And so talking to my patient, talking to providers about, encouraging them to get trained in motivational interviewing and just giving them, some little nuggets about motivational interviewing and how to apply that in their practice is one thing I do in the talks that I do. There's several barriers, unfortunately, that the providers face, and I like to kind of address each one of them. It's probably more time than we have here today, but as we address each of those barriers that providers face, that helps to knock down those walls so that providers are more and more inclined to start talking to their patients about nutrition, because we know it's important. If there are providers out there who are listening, I'm going to give you this pro tip. If you're nervous, you're not sure that you want to talk to your patients about nutrition, you don't have time, there's one question that you can ask your patient. And the only question the one question you can ask your patient is, if you think of, first off, you should ask permission before you talk to them about their diet. Is it okay if we talk about your diet today? And most people will say, yes, I have diabetes, hypertension. Yes, please tell me. Oftentimes patients are waiting for their doctors to talk to them about nutrition. And the question you ask them is this: when you think about your diet, where do you see most room for improvement? And that question is really simple, but it really takes advantage of the fact that most of us have really thought about our diet. We already kind of know what parts of our diet need some improvement. And so it takes advantage of that. So you take that, you ask that question, and the patient might hesitate for a little bit, but then we'll very naturally offer, you know what, you're right. I really need to get more leafy greens into my diet. I probably should be getting more salads in. And then you start the conversation and it rolls. And then, you ask a few more questions, and all of a sudden you have a SMART goal that the patient can be working on at the end of your visit. And it can be as simple as that. I know it sounded very simple, but it's possible. And just showing and explaining and demonstrating to my peers, my colleagues, that this is possible has been one of my passions, to decrease that barrier of, I can't talk to my patients about nutrition, because we know it's important and it's life-changing when providers talk to their patients about plant-based nutrition.
Yeah. When we think about health disparities, eating the way that we recommend, if it's not designer vegan foods, is actually quite affordable.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I think that's you're right, Chef AJ. I think one of the misnomers that, and that's part of it, right? The messaging behind plant-based nutrition and whole food plant-based to certain individuals may come across as, oh, wait, that's just, someone who doesn't look like me who shops at Whole Foods all the time. And that's not it. And so, yes, if you're eating Impossible burgers and, fake cheeses and maybe, other kind of specialty vegan items, that can get quite pricey, it can be costly. But to eat lentils and beans and frozen vegetables, right? If you're nervous about getting fresh vegetables or that you're wasting your vegetables, frozen vegetables are just as healthy, just as good. And eating fruits and getting whole grains in bulk are actually absolutely affordable. We have apps in my home. I know that we have saved money because we don't bring meat into our house any longer. And we're choosing whole foods. And so it is absolutely affordable. And that's such an important point that you make, Chef AJ, because access, whether it's real or imagined, it's important to know, for everyone to know, that whole food plant-based diet is absolutely affordable and accessible.
Absolutely. So here, I just saw, I love when they put red question marks, because it makes it easier for me to see the question. Also, Sharon says there's actually 2,000 people in her group. So she loves that. Absolutely. So Jesse says, and I know you can't answer personal medical questions, but in general, Jesse's saying, will a plant-based lifestyle help to reverse peripheral neuropathy?
So that is, that's a good question. It's possible, but it really depends on the individual, depends on the cause of the peripheral neuropathy, the severity of it, the duration of time that you've had the neuropathy, where it is, multiple factors. So it's really difficult to say. I'm always optimistic in that I think that going whole food plant-based has so many other benefits, that even if it doesn't completely take away your neuropathy, which I would imagine that it could be helpful if it's if it's related to diabetes, that if it's improving your blood sugar levels, that it should help. But I'm just kind of assuming that point. There's so many other tons of benefits that even if you don't get complete resolve of that specific acute thing that you're trying to treat with the whole food plant-based diet, you're getting multiple other benefits of it. So there's really it's not a bad idea to try it.
Right. I was reading in your bio, you used to do a lot of volunteer work at, let's see, different places. I love that you did that. So talk about that.
I have always volunteered. I've always, that's another really important, example that my father left me with and taught me was the importance of giving back. And so it was always kind of ingrained in me. I grew up, in the church and doing volunteer work through my church. And, it was something that was done at home as well. We often, gave rides to strangers, invited individuals home for lunch. And so it was just something that I felt like that I was supposed to do. So in high school, I volunteered. In college, I volunteered. In medical school, I volunteered in lots of different organizations. And it was just a wonderful way for me to move a little bit outside of my comfort zone and give me a bit of perspective on how others live. I think oftentimes for me, I guess I can just speak for myself, you get really, happy with your life and your neighborhood and the street that you're on, the community and the circle that you associate with. And sometimes you lose a little bit of perspective on what others' lives are like. And volunteering, community outreach really gave me that. And I think that's invaluable because I've had those experiences when I speak to my patients now, not that I know exactly what they're going through, but I understand to a degree that some of the challenges that my patients face, and so I think that has provided an extra level of empathy to my patients, and I think they're better. I'm better for it, and I'm hopefully they're better for it too.
Nice. What kind of miracles have you seen in some of your patients at the Barnard Medical Center?
Oh my goodness, I have this wonderful. So their miracles are big, they're small, but they're miracles nonetheless. For some of my patients, just eating one plant-based meal in their home of meat eaters is a miracle. And so I've seen that. And I've also seen my patients who, in the midst of this pandemic that we've just gone through, lose an incredible amount of weight and reverse their prediabetes, all in the middle of a pandemic where they're, more sedentary, have easier access to maybe some of the, if they had junk food in their house, it would have been very easy for them to not do all the things that they did. And so that has been one of my, I've been so incredibly proud and happy to have been a part of that journey for my patient. They did all of the work. I certainly helped them with goal setting and follow up and checking in. And I think it was important to my patient to know that their doctor was really interested in seeing them succeed. And it didn't happen the first time, right? So she'd been trying for some time and maybe was discouraged for a minute, but then, something clicked in the middle of that pandemic. And, when she came in to do her annual exam with me, I was like, you look different. Tell me about what's been going on. And she had lost like 25 pounds. We checked her A1C and she was completely out of the pre-diabetes range. I called her, I think it was right before her birthday or it was right before Christmas. To give her that news. And she was just so incredibly excited. And that was one of my favorite kind of miracle stories.
One of the things our viewers love to know, and they ask this of just about every guest, is like, what do you eat? What do you eat in a day? What do you serve and cook for your family? Because you had mentioned you had been overweight. You look beautiful. Now I'm sure you look
thank
beautiful
you.
then. And did the weight just literally melt off once you went plant-based?
Yeah. So, what's really great about eating plant-based, at least for me, is that it wasn't, I think even if you didn't do anything else, eating plant-based, the weight's going to come off. But what's great about eating plant-based is that it opens you up to other good habits like walking and exercising. I'm doing this good thing for me, so I'm going to do this other good thing for me. And so I also started to exercise more regularly and eat more plant-based. And yeah, my weight came off, and I've had 3 kids. And as any of the moms out there, all of the moms out there know, it can be a struggle, and it can be difficult to find time to plan ahead for yourself, for your family, to find time to work out. But prioritizing those things first and foremost has been, completely life-changing for me. One of the things the things that I eat at home, I really enjoy savory breakfasts. So I enjoy making kind of masala spiced potatoes that I eat with hot sauce. I like spice in my breakfast. And I'll make chai, oat milk chai, or soy milk chai with that. There's an Indian dish called Upma, which is this whole grain what is it similar to? I want to say it's kind of like maybe cream of wheat, or it might be something different. I forget now, but it's a grain that you prepare on the stove, but it's savory, and I add vegetables to it, spices, and my kids love it. We certainly do oatmeal as well in the mornings. I'll do fruit. We make granola at home, so we'll eat that. But for lunch, so usually for lunches and dinners, we do a lot of Indian food, but I do a lot of Mexican cuisine as well. So we'll do a lot of mushroom tacos, sweet potato tacos. We love tacos. I make a mean guacamole. So we do that. We set it all up. So we'll do a great taco night. We'll do veggie burger night. But the majority of the time we're doing a lot of Indian food. And so I'll do fresh vegetables that I'm just kind of tossing like potatoes and cauliflower and peas, for example, or I do potatoes and carrots. I'll do just sweet potatoes on their own. Would do a lot of lentils. I have an Instant Pot, Chef AJ. And so it has been life-changing. I had no idea, because all my life, I grew up with my mom boiling lentils for like hours on the stove, it felt like. And I was like, I don't want any part of this. If my mom's going to cook it and bring it to me, that's great. But then after the Instant Pot, realizing that, I can make, dal in 10 minutes, it was kind of mind blowing. So I always have dal in my house. I always have brown rice in my house. I always have rice, white rice. Sometimes we have to mix in white rice and brown rice for the kids, but I'll take it. But we'll always have rice. We always have dal. We always have a bean dish. There's one called rajma that my children love, my daughter especially, which is just so incredibly delicious. What else do we make? We do a lot of chickpeas. So I'm sure a lot of listeners know chana masala or chole, and we eat that in our home. That's kind of like the majority of the thing. And we eat a lot of also when we eat our Indian food, we always have a side of raw vegetables. So we'll do carrots, cucumbers, tomatoes. My kids will eat onions. They'll eat raw onions, and I'll squeeze a little bit of lime on top of that, maybe a little bit of salt and black pepper as well. And they'll crunch it and munch on it as, we're eating our dinner. And I make a lot of roti. I make a lot of paratha that are kind of stuffed or not stuffed flatbreads that I make right on the stove. So that's kind of what we do.
How do you have time? Food. I
will tell you something. I have the most amazing husband. He is so incredibly supportive. He's a wonderful cook. There are days where I've come home and I'm really, busy and tired, and he really carries his share of making the food. So he's a phenomenal chef. He makes the best chole. He makes the best chana masala ever. So that's how I do it, because I have a wonderful partner.
Wow. So that's so cool that you use an Instant Pot, because Sharon, that was one of her questions, and what some of your favorite dishes are. Do you also happen to have an air fryer? That's my other favorite.
Yes. So we make the mushrooms that we make for our mushroom tacos. We air fry them in the air fryer first. And it's just a wonderful, amazing texture.
Yeah. Diet is the number one modifier of risk mortality. Who said that?
The Journal of the American Medical Association, there was a publication that came out that said diet is now the number one modifiable risk factor for mortality, meaning that there are other risk factors that are not modifiable, like your age, your family history, the gender that you were assigned when you were born, right? There might be some risk factors. Those are things that you cannot modify. Your family history, you can't modify, but diet is something that you can modify. And of those modifiable things, diet is the number one thing that is the number one modifiable risk factor for cardiovascular disease, for mortality.
That makes sense. So I don't know if you can answer this question. I'll read it just because it was posted by Melanie, but I do have somebody who actually is an expert on this, Dr. Vivian Chen, coming up next month.
Oh, great.
Are there any concerns of chemicals leaching into the body from shirts made from recycled plastic bottles? I didn't even know they made shirts out of recycled plastic.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Recycled bottles do come, there's lots of things I think that they're being made into. That's a great question. I will tell you, I don't know the answer to that. I just don't know enough to give you an educated answer. So I instead of guessing, I'd rather let the expert.
Come back August 10th, because that's what she's an expert in environmental toxins. So please come back or send it in advance if you're on our list, and that's how we give you priority. Misty says, would you please share your flatbread recipe? Do you ever do cooking demos?
So I did one with Dr. Colin Zhu, who is a culinary medicine physician, put on the Thrive Summit. And so did a food demo for that. But I'd be happy to share. It's really just wheat flour that I make in my stand mixer with warm water. And that's really it. Some people will use oil, but you don't have to use oil. You don't have to use oil at all for any of the Indian cooking that I did. So the food demo that I did at Dr. Zhu's Thrive Summit, Colin Zhu's Thrive Summit, was an eggplant dish, an Indian eggplant dish called Bangan Bertha. And it had zero oil, completely delicious. I think I did vegetable broth saute with the onions and like kind of the aromatics and made it, and it was delicious. So I've done a food demo. The flatbread recipe is really just flour and water. That's really it. The technique, though, however, happens to be with how you roll it out. So you just make little balls, you roll it out into little flat discs, you roll it out as thin as you can, and then you put it on top of a hot flat pan, and you just kind of toast it over on that pan. And that's really it. And it's delicious.
Sounds great. I make not very often, I make a quinoa flatbread using Jill Dawson's recipes. Just like you just put quinoa and water in a blender and like you just bake it, and it's like bread.
Wow.
And I like to put the everything bagel spice on. It's
love that.
I'll send that to you. It's literally like it's like bread making for dummies. Seriously. Yeah. Hey, Jesse.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Jesse made a funny comment. Oh no, age is not modifiable. I'm doomed.
So listen, when you're eating a plant-based, I'm plant-based, and I guess I could share my age, but when I do share my age, most people are not sure that they believe that I'm 42 or I'm about to be 42. Most people don't believe that.
So you look like 22.
Thank you. So most people, I'm definitely coming back on the show, Chef AJ. So most people, age isn't necessarily modifiable, but it is. Like eating a plant-based diet, when you're eating a diet that is rich in fiber, antioxidants, and phytonutrients coming from living, beautiful plants, you're gonna live. When you eat dead things, you die, and all of us are slowly dying, sure. But I think it slows down that process when you're eating a whole food plant-based diet. So technically, no, but I think eating a plant-based diet can slow that down.
Yep. Well, I'm 61 and I have very little makeup.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't believe that.
And I know what everybody else, and people say, oh, it's genetic. Well, you haven't seen all the dead people in my family.
Right.
They didn't look like this. I swear. Actually, what's interesting, because I come seriously from a line of morbid obesity, at least on my mother's side, and I'm talking, morbid obesity.
Yeah.
The nice thing about that is my mother and my grandmother had no wrinkles, no lines, and no wrinkles, because
look at.
Yeah, no, I got, but what I'm trying to say is because they were so heavy, nothing showed up wrinkle wise.
Oh.
Also, they had two other secrets that a lot of people don't want to hear. They never allowed sun on their face, and they never wore makeup. And I remember they had the most beautiful skin.
Yes.
Yep. What about exercise? Do you have time for that?
Oh my gosh, yes. So here's my secret. My secret is to lower your bar of expectation. I think a lot of times when we think about exercise, that word, at least when I speak to my patients, I think about exercise as running, outside or running a 5K or, doing something strenuous that isn't necessarily pleasurable or enjoyable. And, when we think about exercise, it's great, in that immediate moment when you do an exercise, there's wonderful benefits, kind of short term immediately. But in order to gain long-term benefits, you have to be able to sustain it. And so my trick has been to be able to lower the bar. So if you can only do 10 minutes a day, do those 10 minutes and don't say, oh, I can't do 30 minutes, so I'm not going to do anything at all. Do those 10 minutes. If it's stretching, if it's something, because there is muscle memory involved and your body will slowly start to get used to and start craving that movement and that exercise in your life. So just start at the bare minimum and do it consistently. Something that that you could do every single day. And it doesn't have to start off every single day. It can start off once a week and can start off 3 times a week. But doing that consistently, whatever that little bit is, and then moving that up to 20, 30 minutes, 60 minutes as able. But not everybody needs to go outside and run a mile. No, you don't need to do that to start off with. Start off with what works for you.
It just seems to me, almost, at least with the people I know and work with, getting people to exercise is even harder than getting them to eat right. It just seems like if it's not ingrained, it's almost an automatic habit. It doesn't happen with me and my husband. It's just like we make it a non-negotiable, and we've created a life where our work day starts later. For me, it's at 11 a.m. On most days. Some days I have earlier broadcasts, and it's just like if we don't do it almost like within the first hour, it's never getting done. We don't go back and do it. Like just like if you don't make your bed when you wake up, you don't say no, you don't make it because you're going to bed in a few hours. So it's really got to be like just like everything else you do automatically, whether it's drinking that cup of coffee or brushing your teeth. For me, that was the only way I could do it, is to do that also, and to trick myself into linking it with something funner. So I do the spin bike for an hour, and that's my guilty pleasure. I can watch anything I want for an hour on Netflix. So it works for me. Yeah, it just seems like this.
Absolutely second that.
Lifestyle medicine, it almost doesn't need the word medicine in some ways. It just, people are always looking to lose weight, but they're not looking to change their diet and exercise. They just want a quick fix. And then they go back to, drinking the alcohol and eating the junk food, and weight comes back. And it's like to get this idea of lifestyle in people that have not really had an optimal one for, 40, 50, 60 years, it can be difficult. So I admire your tenacity in what you do, because I'm not good at motivational interviewing.
Well, if I can do it as a child or a person who has a very strong history of premature cardiovascular disease, who didn't have the example of someone who was eating well, who lives a stressful lifestyle, who has 3 children, was over, if I can do it, I know it's possible for others. And that's why I have the passion that I do, because I know that everyone else's parent and child should hear this message and should have the benefit of hearing it, even though my dad wasn't able to, right? So I carry that passion in me. And I know it's possible for me. It's possible for each of you. And I think everyone deserves that. I think, maybe there are people out there who think that optimal health is out of reach for them. And my message to you is that it's not. It's not just for, the highly motivated, because a highly motivated person wasn't always highly motivated. It isn't for the plant-based person who's been plant-based for 20 years. They weren't always plant-based, may not have been. And so it is possible, and start where you are, and it's possible. That's my message.
Well, I've been vegan 2 years longer than you've been alive.
Yeah. That's awesome. Your goals.
Well, your skin is beautiful, and I bet you are it seemed like you just are such an amazing doctor who listens, beautiful, compassionate. And I'd love to see you. And Gina says, my favorite dish is bangin' Barta. I thought you said banging Berta. That is a hilarious name for a dish.
I might start calling it that.
That's what I heard. Oh, here's a great question from Jay. Is Dr. Sardana taking on new patients either in person at the Barnard Medical Center or virtually if they live in a state where you're board certified.
Absolutely. Please come see me. I would love to see you. Yes, I am taking new patients. We might be booking out a little bit further, but please call. Please let us know. We're open to patients in person and virtually.
Wow. Well, gosh, let's see. How do you answer someone, this is from Gwendolyn, who had a gastric bypass, who says, I may change my eating habits when I have a heart attack. Well, then it might be too late, because 50% of heart attacks result in sudden death.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I would ask them, why are you waiting till then? I mean, it's a tough conversation. Most often when patients, I actually don't have a ton of patients who kind of have that type of an attitude, but I definitely sense a lot of hopelessness and lack of agency. So, and lack of empowerment. And not that I can give a person their agency, or not that I can give someone empowerment, but I can support a person's empowerment by helping to walk with them on this journey and help with, goal setting and helping with accountability. So I would really just listen to them and support them, in the ways that I can.
I think that addiction is really the most underlooked thing in a lot of these habits, because
Absolutely.
Everybody I know that has quit smoking only quit when they either had a heart attack or were diagnosed with lung cancer. They didn't wake up one day and say, I think this is really a disgusting habit that's expensive and ruining my life and not making my wife not want to kiss me. They wait until that. And it's the same thing with, there are a very few people like my husband that get this information, or my sister say, this makes sense, I'm going to do it. But for the most part, I think people wait till almost it's too late in some cases.
I think our society is one in which that it's a myopic society. We're there for the immediate pleasure, the immediate hit and the rush and the feeling of a cigarette, of, something rich that we're going to eat, a soda that we're going to drink that's going to make us feel great. And we overlook, or take for granted the long-term consequences of that. And because of that, we ignore the long-term. We also ignore the possibility of long-term benefit of making good decisions that may not immediately feel wonderful, but literally give it a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops, you will feel a difference. And once you feel that difference, once you start to feel like, wait a minute, I'm not as bloated, my skin does look great. I feel happier, I feel clearer, I feel lighter, I feel happier. Then, that kind of perpetuates itself, and it helps to add to the, that increases your intrinsic motivation, that helps you continue to, along that path to your desired goal.
Right. Until all your friends and family members, just like crabs in a bucket, just pull
that
down to their level. That's what, hey, just one more time, please, if you could mention the states that you're board certified in.
Yes.
Telemedicine, because somebody's asking.
Absolutely. So I am board certified in Maryland, DC, Virginia, New York, Illinois, Georgia. I'm missing one. Oh, and Washington State.
Oh, nice. Oh, Washington State. Well, I guess I could get there and just have the consult there. Then I could. That's the closest
Yes.
one to me. That's amazing. Well, gosh, it's just like talking to a girlfriend. I can imagine.
Yes, this was so nice.
Yeah, it's just probably, I'm guessing, you have the same warmth with your patients, and they probably love you.
Oh,
and,
right back at you, Chef AJ. This has just been so easy, so fun.
I try to. I noticed you're on Instagram, so I'm putting a link for people to follow you there. Is there anywhere else people can support your work? Do we have a book to look forward to, or anything that you'd like people to support? Like you had mentioned that charity you worked for. Is that something people could give to? Martha's?
Martha's Table is a wonderful organization in DC. That's it's an organization that I've worked with for a long time. I no longer work with them right now, but they're still a wonderful organization to support. I certainly, if anyone's interested, who's a provider, who's interested in lifestyle medicine, joining ACLM, supporting PCRM.org, supporting BarnardMedical.org. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not as active in the moment. I'm kind of taking my summer reprieve, as you were, but I'm on all of those platforms as Dr. Jasmol.
Yeah, and you're something with the ACLM. I forgot what it was. Let me look.
I'm a fellow of
but you're chairing one of their communities, one of their community
yes.
committee. So that's
yes. So I was exactly. So the community outreach, that is what the community engaged lifestyle medicine member interest group was. So that bio might be slightly outdated. So I was chair of that member interest group, and now I am an advisor to the HEAL initiative, and I support, Dr. Marcia Gale and Dr. Teresa Stone and the HEAL initiative and ACLM and all of the work that they're doing through HEAL.
Nice. Hey, because everything now is sensitivity with language. I think they're going to have to change the name and not call you guys fellows anymore.
Right. That's right.
I don't know. I'm surprised somebody hasn't brought that up, because everything we do now is so culturally, racially, sexual, orientation sensitive, just because I've taken a lot of classes on Zoom.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
So ACLM fellow, we don't.
That's for all specialties, right? In medicine in general.
I think they're going to have to change it now, because,
I'm down.
We used to call it the person that brought you your mail, the mailman.
Right. Mail carrier.
Mail carrier, or, the stewardess is now the flight attendant.
Flight attendant.
We're going to have to think of it.
To be more inclusive.
Tell them, even if medicine doesn't change it, you should tell the ACLM that fellow is kind of not a cool name anymore. But you're a very beautiful fellow, I've got to say.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Chef AJ. You're so kind.
How do we get in touch with her virtually? Penny says, well, I think you'd have to book a session if it was a telemedicine appointment in one of the 7 or 8 states she's board certified in, but you could certainly follow her on
Licensed in.
Licensed. What did I say?
Board certified. I'm board certified.
I'm sorry.
Licensed.
Board certified is what you are doing in internal medicine and lifestyle.
Yes,
she's
that's right.
Licensed in. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm not a doctor. What do I know about that? Anyway, this was great. So thank you so much for just sharing everything with us. It was wonderful talking to you. We had a wonderful time. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when we have not 1, but 2 amazing shows at 11 a.m. We have a culinary demo from Lauren Bennick, the Well Elephant. She's not the elephant, that's her business. And at 2 p.m., we have our resident psychologist, Dr. Doug Lyle, who hopefully will also be joined by Dr. Hawk. Well, say hi to everybody at PCRM to me. I love their work. I love everybody there, Chuck and Dr. Barnard. And I know we're going to be having Lee Crosby on the show soon. And
wonderful. She's amazing.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, I love her.
Everybody associated with that place is great. Thanks again, Dr. Jasmol.
Thank you so much, Chef AJ. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Be well.